Yo, what's going on, y'all? This Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another real quick video right here. I'm actually going to touch on this a little bit more next week about the welterweight division. But this one just had particular to do with Keith Thurman, and his choice of words it was about a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago. But I just been kind of thinking about it and letting it kind of settle in, and just thinking about the status of these welterweights, and for one, looking at his status, whenever he was having an interview the other week, when they were talking to him about his upcoming fight, and always asking him the same questions, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, all of these questions, and he was asked about the ranking of the welterweights, and Keith Thurman said that he felt that he was number one, Thurman's number one, and number two is Errol Spence, and after that, anything after that is debatable, he said. Those were his words, and basically saying that even though Sean Porter holds a belt, Terence Crawford, he holds a belt, that they just kind of fall in somewhere. Either one of them can be three, or they could fall down somewhere down the list. And also said, I talked about this before, where he said he didn't respect Terence Crawford as a welterweight right now, and that he still has stuff to prove. But real quick on that note, I just want to talk about that comment about Terence Crawford. Of course, Terence Crawford, he hasn't fought the best in the division. I mean, he just moved up last year. And right off top, he did fight one of the belt holders. He got one of the champions out of the way, which was Jeff Horn. Whether you want to consider him a legit champion or not, he did take out Jeff Horn, who held the belt after he beat Pacquiao. So, he does have a legit status to welterweight now. But from here, to prove if he is the best, he has to go in there against these guys like Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. He seems to want to fight Errol Spence even more than Keith Thurman does. That's Bud I'm speaking of. But somebody like Keith Thurman, to say he can't respect him as a welterweight, that's kind of putting his status down, and it makes you say that you don't see him as a big threat to the division. Why fight somebody like Josito Lopez and not fight Terence Crawford instead? Because if Terence Crawford is this hype job and there's a lot of money and backing behind him right now, then that this fight would make more sense than a Josito Lopez fight. Because Josito Lopez, okay, that's a tune-up against a soft touch, but Terence Crawford, he's also not a proven welterweight, so he's a soft touch with hype behind him and money behind him. So that way you can make that a big fight and get that out of the way, instead of letting a guy like Terence Crawford build himself up and be a threat. You would go ahead and take him out. That's my logical thinking. You would go ahead and get one of those other belts. But I'm still so curious why he's so keen to just get the one belt back against Sean Porter, that WBC belt, against somebody he already fought. It doesn't seem like he want to face new looks or new challenges in this game. So I'm trying to find out where his status really is. And back to that, where he says that he's number one. To me, if I had to say who was number one, I would have to say Errol Spence is closer to number one. But I've said this before too. Right now, the welterweight division is vacant. The number one spot is vacant. You got all these talented guys. You got all these, different styles and different, guys in the game that are bringing something to make this division exciting. But there is no number one guy right now. It's almost like with the light heavyweight division. You got all these talented hard hitters in the game, but right now we still haven't decided who the number one guy is. We need that full on unification to decide that. So when I look at a guy like Keith Thurman, who's been off almost 2 years, you can't really say that you're the number one guy, because throughout those 2 years you haven't really been staking claim to that. Granted, you had an injury. Like I said, I feel like somebody who has an injury, they get a pass for about a year. They get that pass for about 365 days. But anything after that, like if another injury comes up, if you're just not showing interest in wanting to fight, you continue to put it off and say, oh, we got to make sure we right. We got to get this tune up. And this is after the 365-day mark. Then it's time the game has to kind of move on. We got to kind of push you back a little bit, and say, hey, I felt like that's why I feel like the WBC did right to, hey, they kind of put it on him, and he just felt like he had to vacate that title, because we got to move on. You can still reclaim your status and get back in there, but right now you're gonna be set to the side. You're like that, like the WBA should make you right now, that emeritus champion, where you're just out of it right now, and that belt should go. That belt also should go to somebody else. So in the meantime, once you get 100%, then you can jump back into the mix. But as of right now, for somebody like Keith Thurman to claim he's number one, he's I won't say he's far from it, but he's definitely not number one. Errol Spence, he's closer to making that claim, and I feel like if Terence Crawford, he gets that Errol Spence fight before he does, he damn sure is going to be number one. But if he wins, of course. But right now, Keith Thurman, I think that for him that's a bold statement, even for him to say he's number one. Yeah, you were the last guy to unify. Yeah, you did fight and beat Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, but like I said, man, that was over the course of almost 2 years now, and we got to move on. We got to look at the guys who are in the thick of things. Coming up, after the Pacquiao fight the next weekend, yeah, we got you back in there against Josito Lopez. If you win and look good, and then get yourself back in there against another belt holder, then we can put you back into that status. And it still depends on what you look like. You know what I mean? It still really depends on all that. But yeah, man, I just kind of wanted to discuss that a little bit, for Keith Thurman, still kind of claiming the number one spot even after 2 years out. To me, that's a bold statement. Like I said, I disagree with it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm actually going to do a fuller breakdown on the welterweight division next week. I'm going to do a bigger video on that, just talking about the status of the game, all of these guys at welterweight fight next year but not fighting each other, all that's coming up next week. So just make sure y'all subscribe here, Combo Breaker 99. Also subscribe to the Jab Effect YouTube channel. And, make sure you subscribe to the Jab Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and SoundCloud. But, yeah, that's all I got for now. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.